Gun Shalom Akyam. We give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakodash. Double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone who teach and rule well, and Shalom to the sincere Akyam, spreading truth and sincerity. Shalom. This video I want to talk about an article that I believe is from, let me see, I believe it's from from Belgium, but let me see. Let me see what happens when I copy paste it. Yeah, it's from Belgium, and the topic of the article is going into how this man had both a relationship with the mother as with the daughter, and he saw them basically in turns. So one time he would see the mother, and then the next time he would see the daughter. And according to the scriptures, we have the understanding that this is actually an unlawful marriage. You see, in a marriage between a man and a woman is when the act of sex has taken place. Preferably, with the virgin woman. You see, but in this day and age, things are quite different, which you don't want to go into. But the definition according to the scriptures is when she lay down with a woman, she becomes your wife. So the article is actually in Dutch, but what I did is I put it in a translator, Google Translate, and the translation comes out good, and there where needed, I put in the better translation. It's quite a long article, but it says, I had a relationship with mother and daughter. I saw them in turns. Neither of them seemed to mind, says Bram, 73. They knew exactly who was here and when. So most likely this, this happened years ago, but this man is telling his story, quite recently, because the article is actually from the 27th of August, and it's actually from the website De Morgen, which in the English translated means it depends on the context, but it could either mean the morning, or it can mean tomorrow, but most likely it means the morning, considering the context of the title of the website. It says Bram, 73, became captivated by the daughter of the woman with whom he had a relationship. It was, in his own words, the greatest crush of all time, but he had to pay a price for it. I got to know her years ago through her mother, who I was in a relationship with. She studied the same field in which I taught at another university, and, stimulated by her mother, wanted to spar with me. Basically goes into discuss the topic at hand. It says, I invited her to my house, and already in the doorway I was blown away by how beautiful she was and how melancholy. Let me see what the Dutch word is for that. I think it goes more into like bold in a sense of like yeah. Let me look it up. Okay, so it goes into someone that is actually feeling down. So the man, once he saw her, he basically felt, in some sort of way, he felt sorry for her. He felt that, something was going on with her. It says she had long blonde hair and her pale blue eyes had a sadness I couldn't place. She was the kind of person you only meet once in a lifetime. And I already read this article before, and a couple of things struck me very much, and that's how much she actually looked like a narcissist. She has narcissistic traits. From the reading of the article, speaking by experience, I see that she has some sort of narcissistic traits, which is like demons. It says, without saying much about herself, she spoke to me and I understood her. She had an almost magnetic presence that fueled the attraction between us. Like a father, I asked what was on her mind, and she answered politely, but I noticed she wasn't quite there. Her concentrated way of looking, the feverish glint in her eyes, made her a stranger in her own life. It was touching how she struggled to find herself in my seat, but I couldn't get around it. After a while, I decided to name it. Basically, he called her out on it. Your eyes give a signal. You're not happy. And she said, that's right. How do you know that? So, could be that this woman experienced something back in her childhood, by which she developed some sort of coping mechanism. Demons were able to leech off of her emotions. I don't know. It says seduction game. It became the biggest crush of all time. Of course, I knew very well what effect it can have when an older man says to a young woman in search. Basically, she was, looking diligently for something. Most likely she was looking for a man or, some D. It says, I got you. To put it in heteronormative jargon of my generation, woman gives sex for communication, man give communication for sex. Those were her words much later. By the way, I saw her, but she saw me too. So they both understood what actually was going on. I saw her, but she saw me too. Yet this sounds too flat to me. What happened here was something other than just a seduction game. After that evening, we both returned to our lives. I, as a professor and friend of her mother, she 200 kilometers away as a student and friend of a young man. So it doesn't necessarily discuss what happened that night between both of them, but after she came to his house, she went back to where she actually lived and where she studied. It says, right after she left the next morning, I called her. You see, right after she left the next morning, I called her mother. Esther stayed here last night. I wanted to tell you that. Yes, I know, she replied. I know her. She wasn't jealous. The mother was a woman who had realized later in life how wonderful free love can be and had resolved not to let anything scare her anymore. So it doesn't specifically mention if they had sex or not, but we can assume the answer is yes. The mother, didn't really care about it. That shows you the mindset of these people. It's this is why the world needs to get judgment. Because even if it talks about in Leviticus chapter 18 that for the abominations that be done by these heathens, the Most High drove them out of the land of Canaan, which later became the land of Israel. How much more does there need to be punishment for those people that are committing these abominations upon the earth? Those people that have us in captivity, that promote these type of things, that condone these type of things. You know, how much of an example do you need to be to the earth, man? Especially if you're a ruler, man. You are supposed to set an example, man, of how you ought to behave and how you ought to be. But by allowing this wickedness to roam upon the earth, you know, things are gonna get worse and worse. You know. But that's also why the Most High is gonna bring swift judgment upon the earth, you know, real soon. So reading on, it says, there followed a period in which I had a relationship with mother and daughter at the same time. So he was seeing them both and basically, you know, both dicking them down. Which, that's wickedness, man. That's unlawful, man, according to the scriptures. It says, I saw them in turns, which neither of them seemed to mind. They knew exactly when each other was here. There were no secrets, and I considered them both at least as capable as myself to say, enough is enough, get out, we stop. In the end, it was Esther's friend who couldn't handle this double relationship. We stopped because it was giving too much love. And that also shows you, man, that basically, not only was there, you know, quote-unquote unlawful marriage, because that's the reference I make towards you're not allowed to uncover both the nakedness of the mother and the daughter, but also the fact that Esther, which that's the young woman, had a friend, you know, like a boyfriend and like a husband. And you know, those type of people need to be put to death, man. You know, both he that committed adultery and what is it? Damn. Hey, this is Leviticus 20, verse 14. If a man take a wife and her mother, it is wickedness. They shall be burned with fire, both he and they, that there be no wickedness among you, man. So, you know, this was the other way around. It was first the mother and then the daughter. But, hey, it's a similar situation, you know. It's a similar situation. This is Leviticus 20 verse 10. And the man that committed adultery with another man's wife, even he that committed adultery with his neighbor's wife, the adulterer and the adulteress shall surely be put to death. So, you know, the judgment that's supposed to come because of this man is quite intense. You know, they should not be alive. But hey, there's a scripture in is it Habakkuk that explains us this, you know, why these things are allowed. You know, why are the, you know, things going on like this? This is Habakkuk chapter 1 and verse 4. Therefore the law is slack. Verse 4. Therefore the law is slack, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. So Habakkuk was complaining, you know, because of the iniquities that he was beholding. You know, and then in verse 4 he says that the law is slack and that the judgment concerning that is not being put forth because there are more people that are committing wickedness than that there are people that are righteous, man. And if you look at it from this perspective of this society, you know, the wicked bears rule. And as it says in the book of Sirach, the 10th chapter, it speaks about how the ruler of a city is supposed to basically uphold the law, statutes, commandments. This is Sirach 10:2. As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. What manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. So the ruler of a city is an example of how the people are supposed to be. If you would look at the king of a city or the king of a country, and you would esteem him as a righteous man, that would show itself forth among his kingdom. And the same thing is happening right now with Esau, Edom, the so-called wild men upon the earth. They are, the border of wickedness, man. They are the people that claim to be the people of the scriptures, yet they toss the scriptures behind them and they make up their own laws, which is basically everything contrary to the scripture. So, because they are in rulership, they allow the wickedness to roam upon the earth, and therefore a man that has an adultery type of triangular relationship, with both the mother and the daughter, is allowed to walk around. Is allowed to walk around. Meanwhile, this type of person, is supposed to be exterminated. Both he and the mother and daughter. So it says, reading on, 4 years later, on September 12, 2012, the phone rang around midnight. All these years I've tried to forget you, but I can't. I thought I'd just call, I heard Esther say. I suggested that this could be a moment's hunch, which was fine, and if it had any lasting meaning, would notice. Exactly 2 weeks later, she contacted again. My kids were there and I read, how did you feel after I called you? And this time I thought, maybe it wasn't her whim after all. My relationship with her mother had meanwhile ended in a very natural way, as if we had found what we were looking for in each other, after which the interest had died down, or maybe she was just tired of me. I never asked. This is not something I'm really going into, but the fact that she, later on called back, it's like, it says, she'll make an appointment. Esther concluded her message. When can you? I wrote back. Saturday, she wrote back. And so the love that had been slumbering for years began at the moment for real. She quickly became my addiction. I'd never known anyone so physically overwhelming, so fulfilling, but the price I had to pay was high. She argued over nothing, harassed me for hours on end until I had to get angry and left. After which the flattery started all over again, and I slavishly retraced my steps. And this was the point in the article in which I was like, this is narcissism, man. This is a narcissistic person. And with narcissism, you have two types. You have the one that's basically boasting himself and wants to be in the spotlight of attention. And you have the one that is actually the opposite and is trying to, basically get into the good grace of someone by the sadness that these people basically have, which that could be right in the beginning, because the type of relationship that you have with a narcissist, which is basically just a demon-possessed person, but the type of relationship that you have with such a person is very, very, very intense. You see, the one moment You know, they're able to love bomb you, basically, give you all the love and attention and desires of your heart, which that's actually what makes such a relationship feel very good. But like the man also said in the article, after a while, then the bullshit comes, man. The bullshit comes, the arguing, you know, the basically devaluation, you know. So yeah, you know. So hey, the sincere brothers and sisters, man, look out for these type of you know, men and females. Because you don't want to be dealing with these, man. You know, if there are certain red flags that you're able to discern, you know, just keep it moving. It says 12, 13 times I broke up. But every time she called again, I changed my mind like magic. I loved her anyway. Had I ever met a woman so beautiful and so eager to be known by me? Didn't we have a uniquely intense relationship? Well then, the sex was so good that I was willing to suffer every day for it, man. And this is basically, you know, like I said, man, a narcissistic type of relationship. You know, there's something that's so good about it that is like becomes an addiction. You know, like a drug. It says enchanted. She saw me in her eternal great love. She wanted to be enchanted. Jealousy spoiled her happiness. She envied the former colleague who asked me how I was doing and envied the laconic nature of my advanced age, something she lacked as a drifting student. Yeah, narcissistic type of red flags again. It says the least upset her. Everything I had seen years before that night when she took a seat in my seat was correct. I couldn't take her grief away. Strong connections, hundreds of messages a day, emotional reconciliations with only the very best sex, soulmates, whatever you want to call it, nothing could ease her displacement. She was not grounded. The world did not touch her. It drove her to despair. Once she jumped out of the window, she still hung with both hands on the edge of the window, and I begged her to climb back. And that's also one of the traits that these people show. They're very great risk takers, and these people they feast on your emotions. They really feast on your emotions because they wanna basically have control over you. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna try to find weaknesses and things that they can use to get control over you. And that's how they operate. So this woman went so far that she, you know, was about to, you know, so-called commit suicide. It says, that night I understood that I had to let her go and end the relationship. My beautiful sweetheart was more close to me than was good for me. So yeah, that's a hell of a demon that this man had to deal with, man. But it's also a good reminder for myself. But it says, that was 6 years ago. I haven't seen her again. She has moved to the other side of the ocean. She found the idea of not being together but living in the same country unbearable. Because these type of people, they always have this desire to have that other person in their life. You know, you often find that they're gonna try to get into contact and they're gonna try to get back into your life. But every time such a thing happens, you as a person become of less and less value. And what they actually are after, these type of people, they're actually after some sort of supply, attention. You know, it's like a drug addict, man. You know, these people they thrive off the attention and the excitement that another person is able to give them, but it's never enough. You know, they might envision seeing a certain person, and that person is gonna make them happy, and it's gonna give them all the fulfillment and all the joy that they're supposed to want in this life. And then after a while, they're going to find out that that's actually not the case. These people are not able to supply such things towards them, and then they realize that the supply that they receive is not the supply that they want, but they constantly after that supply, man. Most likely these things happen, and these demons are able to feast upon them once these people had some sort of traumatic experience. Something similar to a split personality, man, in which people are able to have these type of alter egos, due to things that happened in the past, and then these demons feast upon them. But I digress a little bit, because the topic at hand was concerning this man having both a relationship with the mother and the daughter, which is an unlawful marriage according to the scriptures. Not only that, but something that slipped my mind was the fact that actually it also went into adultery, because the daughter, had a boyfriend or a husband, however you want to look at it. But it says, Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 17, it says, "Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter," which means, you should not have both, sex with him. "Neither shall thou take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswoman. It is wickedness." So you can't take her daughter, and you can't take her granddaughters. You see, because they are so closely related to her, that it's just wickedness, man. These things cannot be done. It's not allowed. You see. So yeah, Yar Jazah, this video was edifying. And with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone, who teach and rule well, and shalom to the sincere Akyam, who furnish truth and sincerity. Shalom.